Welcome back to the Tran Designs podcast. I'm your host, Melissa, also known as Anansi on Ravelry, and on Instagram, I am Tran Designs. Today is Tuesday, July 19th, 2016. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. If you are a new viewer, welcome, and thank you for checking out my show. It's been a couple weeks, of course, since I recorded. It's been a little bit busy here, so so there was a little bit of a break, but it's quiet in the house right now, so I thought I would record and get you caught up with what has gone on since I recorded last. So let's jump into happenings these weeks. We did, let me see, I think I recorded right before the 4th last time. I'm trying to remember, maybe it was right after. Either way, I'll recap that. We didn't do anything fancy. It was raining, so they canceled stuff, but it wasn't raining like right at the time that we could set off some fireworks, and we had bought some, so we set off some fireworks here at the house and watched, kind of around where other people were lighting them off, because they have lots of big ones that go boom here that are legal. So, Then, let's see, after that week we went to, I don't remember the name of the town, but we got to go to the birthplace of Abraham Lincoln, which was really cool. It's a very beautiful piece of land, and they have a visitor center there, and they have tour guides that'll take you around and show you the different stuff, and you can just kind of walk around, and there's a path that goes out into the woods and loops around, and that was a really pretty little hike that we did. Just kind of spent the afternoon walking around and exploring a little bit, learning some history. I'm trying to think. I think that's all we did that week. But then last week on Monday, we left here in Kentucky and drove over to Washington, D.C. Actually, we didn't drive to Washington, D.C. We drove to Gaithersburg, Maryland, because that's where the hotel was, where we were staying. We went swimming that night. And then Tuesday was our first day in D.C. The kids and I loaded up, and our hotel had a shuttle over to the metro station, so we went to the metro station and rode the metro, which was exciting, super exciting for the kids, especially us small town folk who don't have public transportation. I've ridden the DC Metro before last year when Lisa and I were there, and I've used other public transportation in other cities before, but the kids never had, so it was super exciting for them, and they loved that they could stand. So they would stand in the middle and hold the pole, and anyways, it was fun. So we went into DC, and that day we had a Capitol building tour, which was really interesting because we got to see the old parts of the Capitol building, like the original Senate and House chambers that were much smaller than the ones now, when the country was smaller, obviously. And there were chairs that were original to the building, that like the first set of Supreme Court justices sat in, and there was a chair from the early 1800s that was in the Senate room that the vice president used to sit in. So it was really cool to see things from the beginning of our country. I love U.S. history. I love it, love it, love it. So anyway, yeah. So we got to see that, and then when we were done there, we went to the Natural History Museum, the Smithsonian Natural History. Well, first we had to walk over there. It was hot, and I had the stroller with Quinn in it, and the stroller that I brought with me has a seat in the front, and then in the middle section has just kind of a bench. It's called the sit-in stand. So it has this kind of a bench seat and a platform, so another child can like stand in there or kind of sit or whatever. I took that one on purpose because I figured we would need extra seating. And so my other kids, not Anansi, but Kyan and Eli, if we were going downhill, sometimes would pop in and out and use that. Or if we had stopped, they would use that as seating. But we took our time. We ended up going through the sculpture garden, mostly so we could have some shade while we were on our way there. And I'm so glad we did, because in the center there's this big kind of reflecting pool kind of thing. And on the sides there's water shooting out into it. Well, it's, I guess you'd call it an interactive sculpture. You can't like get in it, but people had their feet in the edge. And so the kids kind of dunked their heads and rinsed off their faces and cooled off, and I put water on their necks. And anyway, so we survived the trek, went over to the Natural History Museum, and that was really neat. We got to see dinosaur bones, and we all really liked the gem and mineral section. We're kind of nerds that way. We like pretty rocks in our house. So I got to see the Hope Diamond, which is quite large. And it was really fascinating to see all the different minerals and whatnot, because of all the different colors and the formations and the shapes, and that was really neat. We spent quite a bit of time in that department. And we were decently tired by this point, and the kids were like, whatever. So I said, well, let's just kind of finish walking through here on our way out. We'll just kind of walk through. And I'm so glad we did, because the next section we got to see real mummies, which they weren't like creepy or anything, but it's kind of disturbing knowing that was a person at one time. Like it's neat in that it's history, and they've been able to learn a lot about ancient cultures from them, but it was kind of, for me, it was a little bit disturbing, knowing that it was a person. I don't know. Anyway. But then after that was the bug area, and we ended up staying there for quite some time. Especially Eli and Kyan were really, really sucked into that area, and they had bugs that you could hold. And there was a big screaming cockroach that was like this big, and Anansi was holding it, and there were caterpillar type things that they were holding, and praying mantis apparently. Eli's yelling that to me over there. So anyway, yeah, so that was cool. I ended up just kind of sitting over in the corner for a little while on the floor. Like, when you're that tired, you don't even care. There's not a bench, whatever. You just sit down. So I did. I sat down. And yeah, so then we left from there, hiked over to the nearest metro station, got back out to the hotel. Oh, my nose is itching. And just vegged for the evening, ate some dinner, and the kids turned on TV, and just, we were so wiped. So then the next day, Wednesday, we got into town, and we were there actually, we were there early, so we went over to the Washington Monument, which was really cool. There was a shaded side, so we all took refuge over there and hung out and stayed cool. Oh, Tuesday night though, we went to Target. There was a Target right down the road, and Anansi was telling us about these different fans that they'd had at camp, portable little fans, and so we went and got some fans that we could carry with us, and the kids could wear, and handheld, just to help, because I know we're not used to the humidity, and those of you who live in humidity can joke and whatnot, but it was an actual problem. We made sure to have water and stuff, but we were very hot, and it was legitimately hot. It was like 90 degrees So it's not like we were being wimps. It was legitimately hot and humid because it was supposed to storm later that day. So it was really humid. And anyway, so we hung out at the Washington Monument for a while and then went over to the Holocaust Museum, which was very interesting. It wasn't what I was expecting. They had some artifacts and things like that. Mostly it was a lot of pictures and big signs on the wall that you stand there and read. And there were some videos and whatnot, but I don't know. It was fine, and for someone who has studied the Holocaust, I guess I just was expecting more than just a bunch of signs to read, with an artifact here or there. I don't know. Kind of disappointing, I guess. But there were some things that I didn't look at. They had there were videos that they would show that if they were of a more graphic nature, they would have more like a wall, so that you would have to look over it. I chose not to look at those. I've seen most of that anyways. I didn't want to see it again. One of the things that was the most disturbing and probably kind of random, but was there was a Nazi soldier's uniform. And something about that was more disturbing than seeing, like a pair of these horrible shoes that they made them wear, or, things like that. I don't know, maybe because knowing that the person who wore that, could have been doing those horrible things. I don't know, it was just, for me, that was one of the most disturbing things, was the Nazi uniform. So, anyways, we did that. Went and had some lunch in, not a park. There was a big grassy area. I mean, it was probably technically a park, but there wasn't like a playground or anything. There was a rugby field there, 2 rugby goalposts. But there was some trees and whatnot just across the street. So we went over there and had some lunch, and we stayed there for quite a while. Just sat down and hung out. The kids played and ran around and just enjoyed not having to be somewhere where they're having to, behave. Found sticks and twigs and pine cones, and anyways, they had a good time. And then we walked over, and then we got rained out. Found some shelter under some scaffolding of a building after we got pretty wet. Waited out the storm, which was beautiful. And then walked over to the American History Museum. That place was awesome. The first couple floors, whatever. The first floor, I was not all that impressed with. I think I had in my mind how it would be, and when you walk in and it's all a bunch of high-tech stuff, and you're talking about American history, I was like, I want stuff from the history of America. But they're catering to kids and young people. So they had like the history of TV and the history of computers, which is cool. And I know is the history of our country as well. It just wasn't what I was there for. So we walked through that floor, the kids saw stuff. I saw some, some neat stuff. The second floor, did I say there were 3 floors? I think there was only 2. Were there 3 in that one? Okay, there were 3. It was a different one that only had 2. So, on the second floor, they had, what did they call it? I don't remember what they called it, but they had different sports paraphernalia and TV pieces, movie pieces from history. They had like one of the first actual Elmo Muppets, which was neat. They had a pair of speed skates from Apollo Ono from when he won the gold medal in 2002. They had some boxing gloves signed by Muhammad Ali. They had the ruby slippers that Dorothy wore in The Wizard of Oz, which was really neat. I can't stand the movie, but that was cool. I can appreciate the significance of that. They had, anyways, different things like that. Then we got into the history stuff. They need to have a different museum that's called, like hardcore U.S. history stuff. So our national anthem is called the Star-Spangled Banner. Well, they have the flag that in 1814 was being flown over Fort something or other. It's huge, by the way. 30 feet by 42 feet was the original dimensions. And it's in a very dark room so that it doesn't, to preserve it. It's pretty dark in there. But anyways, that is the flag that when it was being flown, Francis Scott Key saw it and wrote the Star-Spangled Banner. They call this flag the Star-Spangled Banner. Like with capital, the Star-Spangled Banner. And that was really neat to see. I didn't realize it was, I didn't know the date of when the national anthem was written. I guess I didn't realize it was that long after the founding of the country that it was written. But either way, it was really neat to see that, and just kind of see the history of how the national anthem came about. I love our national anthem. Always makes me, get knots in my chest. And then we got to see, the stuff I was there for. There was a room full of dresses that were worn by former First Ladies. There's one in the center of the room that was worn by the current First Lady, but there were historic ones. All the way back, I'm trying to think of the oldest one. There was a dress there that was worn by Mary Todd Lincoln, which this summer we've really learned a lot about Abraham Lincoln, which is really neat. But going that far back, and that significant of a figure in our history, that was really cool. It was neat to see the different fashions through the years. There were two dresses next to each other. I don't remember whose wife it was. I could look it up and tell you based on the year. But as soon as I saw them, I was like, oh, that must be the 1920s, because they were total flapper dresses. And that was really neat to see, because you just see stuff like that in movies or on TV shows or whatever, or replicas. But these were actual dresses from that time period. So that was neat. And there were pictures of them in front of the dress, in the dress. And then there was a room next to that had White House china pieces from the different collections. Can you turn that down, Eli? All the way back to George Washington and some of his White House china. So that was really neat. Then we go in the next room, and it's about the American presidency. And there was a spyglass, and I don't remember what they called it, writing. It was a tube that they would keep like parchment in and stuff like that. Anyways, from George Washington. There was a portable writing desk, just this beautiful wooden, little kind of the original laptop kind of size desk that the Declaration of Independence was written on. There was a uniform that was worn by George Washington himself when he would pose for paintings. That just, I expected old stuff, but wow. That was amazing. And the thing that they said was how did they describe it? One of the most prized possessions of the Smithsonian. Okay, think about that. This is the epitome, the Smithsonian Institution is the epitome of, you know, having collections of things. So for this to be called one of their most prized possessions, but it makes sense why. In this cabinet is a modest top hat. And I don't want to say cabinet, display. Modest top hat that is very worn. That was worn by President Lincoln to the Ford's Theater the night that he was assassinated. That was amazing. Absolutely amazing to be standing there looking at it. These pieces were, you know, in 2016, we're so detached from that. And also living in Idaho, all the way across the country, you're really detached from it. You hear about it. You learn about it in your school books and in history class and da-da-da. There's not that physical connection to it. Our history is built, like I've said before, is buildings that are falling down that was built by people coming across for the Oregon Trail. You know, 60 years after the country was founded, you know, and things like that. Not things from before the country was a country. But seeing that stuff, being literally inches away from things that were owned and worn by some of the greatest people in history, in my opinion, I don't want arguments. It was amazing. It really was. Truly amazing. Anyway, enough about that. So after we were done there, we went back to the hotel and vegged again. The next day, Thursday, of course, was the hottest day of the week and was the day we were doing the outside stuff. So outside stuff meaning we would be seeing the White House, the Lincoln Memorial, the World War II Memorial, that type of thing. So we took our very, very sweet time. We stopped very frequently in the shade of trees. We had the fans going and blowing them on our faces and drinking water. And I packed sandwich bags with ice in them. I doubled them up and put them in the little lunch-size cooler that we had that day. I'm so glad I did too. So we went to the White House first, got to see that, got pictures of the kids in front of there, and then we went around the corner. We were going down and found, they had asked for Washington D.C. shirts and found they have street vendors everywhere. So stopped at one of those. They're cheap. The kids' shirts were $10. The one I got was $8. Quinn's were $8. Like super cheap. It was awesome. I was expecting like 20, 25, 30 because that's how much souvenir t-shirts usually are. So that was cool. And they're good ones too. They're not cheesy, stupid, lame. Like they're cool. Went down a little farther, stopped for lunch. Actually outside of, there's just, it's a super old building. I think it's the old Red Cross, original Red Cross building. It's dedicated to the women of the Civil War. There was a big tree and some grass, you know, right next to the sidewalk. We didn't like go up next to the building or anything, but we stopped there and ate lunch and met some really cool ladies who were there for the National Day of Prayer Summit. I didn't know there was a summit. That it was neat. They stopped and were talking to us and learning about us, and we learned a little about them. And anyways, it was really neat to get to know them. Guys, my kids are all here. I was gonna do it outside, but the neighbors were mowing their lawn. I think I might have said that. Maybe not. Anyway, so after that, we walked down we did the World War II Memorial first, which was really neat. Got pictures in front of the Idaho wreath that's there. The kids got to feed a squirrel, like right out of their hand, which was neat. Got a video of that. And Kyan has dreamed in her short little life, dreamed of going to the Lincoln Memorial ever since she's learned about it. And so she was getting more and more excited as we got closer and closer. And it was so neat to experience that with her, and to be able to do that for her, and to be in that position, it was really cool. And so we went up there, and we stood at the place. There's engraving in the ground that shows where Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech. So I took a picture of them by that, and let's see. Then we went in, and we stayed there for quite a while, and I just kind of let Kyan soak it up, and we rested because I checked, it said 95, feels like 103. So it was hot. So we stayed there for a while, cooled off, let the kids relax a little bit, and then we rode the elevator down because we had walked up the steps, and then I went down and got the stroller, and there's an elevator in there, and at the bottom of the elevator there's a room that has all these quotes and stuff by Abraham Lincoln, and it's air conditioned. Not very many people know about this room, so we went in there and cooled off for a little while, and then we were gonna go over to Ford's Theater. Didn't know how far away it was. I looked up, I was like, well, it's a bit of a hike, but let's try. So we were walking, and then we were a bit of the way there. We had stopped, and we're sitting on some benches, relaxing. The kids were laying down on the benches, just totally sprawled out. And I was like, you know what? That's not a publicly owned thing. It might cost to get in. So I looked, and sure enough, not only did it cost to get in, but you had to have tickets, and it said that they sold out by like 9 in the morning. I was like, well, it's way past 9 in the morning, so we're not even going to try, which was fine because we still had a lot of walking left. So after sitting there for a while, we decided just to be done, go ahead and head back to the hotel. And we did, and I took the kids out for dinner at a corner cafe, deli kind of thing that night, and we seriously vegged that day. I mean, just, we were so wiped out. So that was Thursday, and then Friday we drove home, here, and Saturday literally did nothing. I mean, like, barely even got up long enough to feed myself or them, we just it was such a long week. Sunday we went to church. Yesterday, we cleaned and went grocery shopping. Oh my gosh, I've been catching up on laundry and had to get some food. That brings us to today, and we're almost 30 minutes in. I apologize, but I had a whole bunch to cover. So anyway, this weekend on Saturday, I will be going down to SSK for the market and to see Lisa. Yay! And the kids are coming with me, and they're looking forward to meeting her, and we're going to go out to dinner, and we're going to go to Mary Gale's house that night. I haven't decided if we're going to spend the night at all while we're there. I was kind of leaning towards going there and back on Saturday, but it's about a 2-hour drive, and it's looking like we're going to get done fairly late on Saturday night, and I don't know that I would have it in me to drive back safely. So we'll see. I'm not ruling anything out at this point. It's only Tuesday. So anyway, yes, you are caught up. We are leaving next Thursday to head home. Can you believe that already? So we have a couple more things to do. I'm going to figure out when I can go up and visit with Heather, and Anansi is going to an amusement park with one of the friends that she's met here next week, and then we will be heading out. So anyway, yeah, let's move into the knitting. I have a couple works in progress to show you. So I started a new project, oh, shoot. Are one of you free?
Why?
Hold on.
Why?
It's all right. I'm just gonna go grab some. All right, sorry about that. I had something that came in the mail that I wanted to show you. So anyways, I started a new project so I could have some metro knitting. So I have a sock that I started on the train, and I did the heel right when I got back. So I essentially did the foot. This is from a sock blank that I got from the sock blank club that Lisa just did, that just finished up. So here's what it looks like. It mirrors itself, so this sock, you know, has to be done by about here in order to have the same amount and the same kind of look or whatever. And I don't know that I'll do that. I think I'm leaning towards just make kind of my normal size sock and then just pick up wherever this is and go, and they'll be matchy but not identical, because then I can have whatever's left over to use in something else. There's just a piece of hair bugging me, sorry. So you can see what this kind of the blotches look like on here. Well, I was surprised to see how small they were when I was knitting it up. But I realized when you look at it on here, so see how this spot is over one kind of stitch right there? Well, when you pull that out, the part of the, because it's on the V part of the stitch, but the part of the stitch that was hooked, you know, up underneath the next V doesn't have that spot on it. So when you're knitting, let's see if there's one that has pulled out. So when you're knitting, it actually, okay, here's one I can show you. If you crinkle the yarn back up like it was when it was knit in the sock blank, it curls back on itself here, and you can see that the spot goes back together. But when you separate it out, it's two small spots. I don't know if that's shown up very well. But anyways, so it's barely speckled. It's kind of like confetti. And it's really interesting how it's turning out. It's been fun, and I really like pulling from the sock blank. The bumpiness at first it kind of caught my eye, like, oh, there's something wrong. Oh no, it's just the bumpiness of the sock. Like I had to tell myself, no, that's okay. That's which I knew, but it just kept catching my eye like it was a mistake. So that doesn't bug me, and actually touching the yarn and whatnot doesn't bug me. I like pulling from the sock blank because it doesn't get caught. Like sometimes when you're pulling from a cake or whatever, it just pulls right out. And so I enjoy how it feeds me the yarn, the feel of it, I guess. So anyways, Fish Lips Kiss Heel, just my standard. I did do a size 0 needles because this yarn is thinner. It has 463 yards or something like that to a skein, and I want to make it more durable, so I did do a size 0 needles. So anyways, there's that, and it is in my Girl Cave bags bag that I got at ZK. I love it. I think this is my favorite bag out of all the ones I have. I really like this. There's just something about it. Isn't it cute? I know you've seen it, but I really love it. All right, the only other project I have that I'm actively working on is my Yowza sweater. It was kind of done yesterday, but then I decided to redo the bottom. So I will show you how it looks. So if you'll remember, I started here. I haven't sewn this together yet, and see my ends are sticking out there a little bit. I did weave them in, but I'll tuck them after I wash this and whatnot. So anyways, this is what it'll look like after I sew the neck together, and then it's top down. I put the kangaroo pouch in here. I was able to, and I put ribbing back in the back so that way it would bring it in without me having to do shaping. I was able to get full length sleeves, and I did a nice long cuff because I want it to match the turtleneck look, so I will fold it. Okay, I'm trying to hurry because I don't want to make this too long, but I want to do this sweater justice, so I'm going to take some time to explain this. Like I've said before, I'm loosely following the pattern from the Top-Down Sweater book by Ann Budd. By loosely, I mean I'm following the stitch counts, but not doing everything else exactly. Like the neck I made up. The sleeves I did on my own. I just did every 6th row. I decreased. The underneath side, kind of where it would be seamed, is a little tighter because that's where I was changing yarns, and it pulled it up a little tighter, but once I soak it, I'm really gonna pull this edge and it'll be fine. Anyways, all that to being said, and I just made up the kangaroo pouch size. I put it on and I put my hands in and kind of counted how many rows I would want and how wide I would want it, and then compared it to a pattern that I already own that has a pouch, and it was almost exactly the same stitch count. It was weird and cool at the same time. What I did was I picked up the stitches along the bottom here. I just picked them up and worked back and forth and actually attached it to the side as I went along here, working back and forth straight. And then when I started to decrease, I added in some seed stitch so it would lay flat. And then when I got up here, I used a second needle and picked up stitches from the body and did a Kitchener all the way across. I was trying to remember. Did a Kitchener, so that way it was seamless. So anyway. The way I did the sleeves, I don't know if you remember back when I started this, I did this back and forth because I like 1x1 rib, but something about the way, the cat just fell in a bucket. Something about the way I knit when I do it in the round, it's all weird. But I wanted 1x1, so I did it flat and then joined it in the round. So on that same vein, I wanted to have 1x1 ribbing everywhere else, you know, the cuffs of the sleeves and whatnot. So what I did was I worked down to here, used my other needle that I had, and, well, a smaller needle, my size 5, and did a tubular cast on and worked 30 rows and then did a Kitchener with what was already on here. Did it with both sleeves. And decided that when I put it on, the bottom ribbing just, even I did a tubular bind off, which is stretchy, but it wasn't stretchy enough, and I just didn't love it. So I pulled out the bottom ribbing yesterday and grabbed my my trusty size 5s, and cast on, tubular cast on the number of stitches that are on the body, and am working back and forth, and we'll do 30 rows just like I did for the cuffs, and then I will Kitchener it together. So I know that probably sounds complicated, but for me it was the best way to really make it look good, and I would rather it look good and have a little bit of Kitchener magic going on than not. I love this yarn. I mean, like, as I was working with it last night, I was like, man, I'm almost done with this. And this is some of, like, when I work with, there's something about this colorway that I love. I love it, love it, love it. And so I was like, man, I'm almost going to be done with it, but it's not like I couldn't, order something else in this color. Not necessarily like a sweater quantity of this yarn, but sock yarn or something to, make some socks or a hat or mittens or something with. But anyways, I'm thoroughly enjoying this sweater, and I cannot wait to have it done. And it will be done just in time for us to go home and be in the blazing heat of August. But September comes after August. And even though September is still hot during the day, it starts to cool off at night. So, just saying. I might have to find reasons to go out at night just so I can wear my new sweater. Anyways, like I said before, it's Yowza What a Skein in the, Believable colorway. So yeah, and I got that when I was at Maryland Sheep and Wool last year with Lisa. So it has happy memories too, which I like. And I've been using this bag that my friend Marilyn so generously made for me. She's awesome. And it's the perfect sweater size bag. And that's all I have for works in progress. I did finish something just the other night. It was getting 100% of my attention, and then I was like, oh yeah, because I was told that the Holocaust Museum was kind of chilly, and so I was like, oh, if I have my sweater, I could take it with me. And then I didn't care. It was so hot. I was like, I don't care. And it wasn't cold. There was one room that was cool, but anyway, so I didn't work on this while I was gone. Most of it, I didn't really knit at all. On the metro, those couple times, not even every time we were on, because sometimes it was just too hot or Quinn needed me or whatever. And on Thursday evening, I think I knit for a little while. I was so tired. So then when I got home, or when we got back here, I picked this back up and finished it. And it is my Joy Alloy shawl. I have not blocked it or woven in the ends. You can see where I broke my yarn there. But anyways, I love this shawl. It was so much fun to knit. I love Megan's stuff. I am not gonna lie. I love her stuff. I don't make a lot of it because not all of it is stuff that fits my body type necessarily, or my the way that I dress or whatever. But every time she comes out with something, I'm like, dang, Megan, dang, it's so cool to see her stuff. So it was really neat to be able to not only use this beautiful yarn that I got at hers and Amy's retreat, but it was her pattern, and I adore her. And so anyways, it's fun when you have such good memories from a project, So anyways, it's asymmetrical, as you can see, which I love asymmetrical stuff, especially for just throwing over your neck and just throwing it on. It's going to stretch out quite a bit. It's wavy because these sections here are a little tighter than the garter sections in between them. That was probably up a little high there. So no, it's not. You're good. So yeah, it will all even out, and then it goes down here. Yeah. So anyway, I thoroughly enjoyed making it. I can't say that I would make it again necessarily, because I seem to not make stuff over and over all the time. But I would. I'm not going to set out to make it again, is what I should say. But if I had another mini skein set, this would definitely be a contender. Especially as a gift. This would be a great gift knit because it's fun to knit, and then I wouldn't have multiples of the same thing. I don't know. Anyway, so there's that. I'm starting to ramble at this point. I do have a little bit of spinning. I didn't bring it over. I grabbed my drop spindle yesterday while I was waiting for the pizza to bake that we got. So I spun for maybe 10 minutes. Doesn't look all that exciting, so I didn't bring it over. Designing, I do have some designing, but I can't show you. Testing is finishing up, and yeah, testing is finishing up, and it's going nicely. There was a couple of really big mistakes that I made in my typing up, and I'm so thankful for my test knitters who found it and were patient with me while I literally cast on the stitches that would have been halfway down the shawl for the next section. And worked them, and rewrote that section. Was like, what in the world happened? So super, super grateful to them, because man, anyway, I'm so thankful. So anyways, that will be coming. I'll be able to talk about it soon. I just can't right now. So when I get the okay, I will tell you all about it. Lastly, I do have an acquisition. Well, I have a couple of acquisitions. Some of which I will not be showing you because it's just some new clothes. I have I have become introduced in person to LuLaRoe clothing. A gal that I met here sells it. I've seen it on Facebook like once, and I was super confused by what was going on and couldn't figure it out. And so I was like, whatever. But a gal here who, like I said, I was at her house, and she sells it, and I was able to try some on and whatnot. And so I got a couple of shirts and a couple pairs of leggings and a skirt, and I may have to buy some more before I go back home, because it's so much different trying it on in person. My body type and proportions are not standard, and so I will not buy something sight unseen untried on, non-tried on, unless it's something I've bought before and it's something that I know will be the same. Like the leggings I would order because there's just one size, but the shirts, no. Anyways, I did get some of those, but what came in the mail was my very last sock blank. Oh my gosh, you guys. Lisa outdid herself 10 times over. Are you ready to see this? I was blown away. Look at this. How amazing is this? It is a piece of art. I pulled it out and I was like, I just need to Kitchener the two ends together and make it an infinity scarf, because, and I told her that too. I said, I don't know that I can take it out of the blank, because it's just, and I don't even care that the ends roll. Like, it's so beautiful. Just stunning. And Anansi whipped it on her neck, and she's like, wow, this is great. Like, I may just either bind off the ends or make it into an infinity scarf. And she told me one time that there was a gal who bought a couple of her sock blanks and was like, I just want to frame these, and she didn't really like that because they're meant to be knit. But Lisa, I don't care if you like it, because it's mine. And I may just say that you made me a scarf. Anyways, I love it. Don't you? Aren't you jealous? Don't you wish you had one? Yeah. I just can't imagine undoing this. I just can't. I've seen others that had pictures on them that were cool, but it would have been fun to undo them. This is, it's like she painted it for me. So, anyways, and it looks really good. I think I might, yeah. Anyway, all right. I'm going to wrap things up. Do you like my new haircut? I forgot to mention, I did get my hair cut while I was here. Becca has an awesome gal who comes to her house and does her hair. Anyway, all right. I'm going to let you go. We're 50 minutes in. I did not take an hour, which was my goal. So I'm gonna wrap up and say, if you need to get a hold of me, please message me on Ravelry, or you can respond in the episode thread. There's a Tran Designs Facebook page, Ravelry group, meltrandesigns.blogspot.com, YouTube. Obviously, you can just do a search for Tran Designs. I also make sure to put a knitting tag, so that way it can be found. So anyways, I hope you have a great week. I hope you've enjoyed our time together, and until next time, keep knitting. Bye.